All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on two incredible tools that are making AI way smarter and more personal than ever before: vector databases and LangChain. Let's dive in and figure out how this whole thing actually works. So, let's kick things off with a question I bet you've thought about. You've got this amazing AI, right? Like ChatGPT. But why can't you just ask it to summarize your company's private reports or find that one key detail in all your personal research notes? Why doesn't it know anything about your world? Well, the short answer is actually pretty simple. It all comes down to a memory problem. That AI has this massive general knowledge, but when it comes to you and your private data, it's got total amnesia. So, to really wrap our heads around the solution, we first have to understand the problem. We need to get into the limits of these forgetful geniuses. Yep, I'm talking about the large language models, or LLMs, that are the brains behind these AI tools. You can think of a powerful LLM like a genius who's been locked in a library their whole life. They've read every book in there, that's their training data, but that's it. They have absolutely no long-term memory of your chats, they can't peek at your private files, and they have no clue what just happened on the news. They're stuck inside this closed, pre-trained world. So the big question is, how do we get that genius out of the library? How do we give it a permanent, specialized memory that's all about our specific information? And that, my friends, brings us to the first amazing tool in our kit. We can give our AI a memory using something called a vector database. Okay, vector database. I know, it sounds super technical, but don't worry, the concept is actually really cool. Just think of a vector as a kind of numerical fingerprint for an idea or a concept. So instead of just storing words, a vector database stores these unique fingerprints, capturing the vibe, the meaning behind the text. Probably the best way to picture it is like a very special kind of library. Now, in a normal library, you look for a book by its title, right? But in this AI library, the books are all organized by what they're actually about. So a report on boosting company profits is sitting right next to a memo on new cost-cutting strategies, because the database gets that they are related by meaning. And this really shows the huge difference between old-school search and this new method. A keyword search, it's totally literal. You search for revenue growth, and that's exactly what it looks for. But a vector search, whoa, that's a whole different game. It gets your intent. When you ask how your sales strategy impacted earnings, it knows to go find documents about revenue, sales tactics, and quarterly results, even if you never use those exact words. It's searching for meaning, not just words. Okay, so this is great. Our AI has its awesome new library. That's a huge deal. But wait a minute. How does it actually know which book to grab off the shelf when you ask it something? How do we connect its powerful brain to this new memory? And that is where our second tool makes its grand entrance. We need a conductor to lead our AI orchestra, and its name is LangChain. Just think of LangChain as the ultimate project manager. It's not the brain, and it's not the library. It's the essential go-between that coordinates everything. It's the glue that holds the whole operation together and makes sure everyone is talking to each other correctly. So what does this project manager actually do? Well, it's got a few critical jobs. First, it manages the whole flow of information from start to finish. It chains together different actions. That's where the chain in LangChain comes from. It lets the AI talk to our new vector database, and crucially, it acts like a master prompt engineer, putting together the perfect, context-packed question to send to the LLM. Okay, so we've got all the players on the field now, right? We have the genius brain, that's the LLM. We have the super smart library, the vector database, and we have the project manager calling the shots. That's LangChain. Let's walk through an example and see how they all work together. All right, let's watch the magic happen, step by step. You ask a question like, what were our key takeaways from Project Phoenix? Immediately, LangChain steps in and intercepts that question. It then zips over to the vector database and pulls out all the documents that are relevant to Project Phoenix. Now here's the really clever bit. LangChain takes your original question and bundles it together with all the juicy info it just found, creating this perfect, context-rich super prompt. Finally, it hands that whole package over to the LLM, which now has everything it needs to give you a brilliant, detailed answer that's specific to your project. So you might be thinking, okay, that's a neat technical trick, but really it's so much more than that. Understanding this process is basically understanding the future of truly custom personalized AI. So let's talk about why this really matters. It matters because this trio, the LLM brain, the vector database memory, and the LangChain nervous system, isn't just a small improvement. It's unlocking a whole new generation of AI applications that are hyper useful because they're customized to your world and your data. Just think about it for a second. We're talking about customer support bots that instantly know your company's entire help documentation, inside and out, or a personal research assistant that can find hidden connections across hundreds of your own files. Imagine an AI that can get a new developer up to speed because it understands your team's entire code base. The possibilities here are absolutely transformative. So, what's the big takeaway here? It's that we can finally give our AIs a memory. We can connect their powerful general-purpose brains to our own specific data. By combining that LLM with a vector database and a conductor like LangChain, we've unlocked truly personal AI. The tools are here, they're ready to go. So now that you know how it all works, what would you build?